I honestly don't understand what Blake and Ryan are still doing at this point. They're out there trying to save face, but they're only wasting money and resources and drowning it even further.
Here's how it works. Ryan Reynolds filed a motion to dismiss, basically saying, Judge, I don't think I should be in this case. Now get over here. We think you should be in it. You called our client a predator, X, Y, and Z.
Is that we don't get to use Ryan Reynolds' wild imagination because there's apparently footage. High quality.
Following Blake Lively's successful courtroom breakdown, Ryan Reynolds is having a full-blown gather an endless supply of public criticism once more. These two idiots are occupied with tantrums, dubious transactions, and fabricating stories about Saab in the hopes that people will forget they are both deeply dishonest.
Feels like her entire life has been turned upside down. Yeah, and it's your fault.
However, the memory of the internet surpasses their litany of scandals, and Ryan may wind up bringing Blake down with him this time.
Poor Blake. It must be so tough out there. Look at this forlorn. God, her outfits are the worst.
Blake Lively allegedly considered dragging herself to her daughter's expensive horse. She was going to get some sympathy points for being depressed and broken because, well, nothing says I'm struggling like attending a lavish event that costs more than most people make in a year. Blake, the reality is, cope with it this way.
Article in the Daily Mail, an exclusive today. Oh, forlorn Blake Lively breaks cover. Far from Hollywood as insiders reveal new private battle. Creeping regret over Justin Baldoni loss.
And no, the compassionate face wasn't convincing to the general population. Instead, it was the Daily Mail that made an excessive effort to portray her as this depressed mother barely surviving.
Blake Lively, she's really struggling here. She's really struggling in these two frames when everyone else is laughing around her, and clearly she is too.
However, if you look at the entire scenario, it's like, girl, you're among a sea of wealthy mothers drinking expensive lattes as their children slowly jump horses. Not precisely the Hunger Games.
So, she's really struggling. The relatable Blake Lively is so forlorn and struggling at a horse farm.
Blake is out there trying to look devastated while everyone else is just having a casual sunny day laughing and chilling like it's some bougie episode of Gossip Girl. And bless Annie Sr. for just saying it like it's rich people acting like they are victims. This is honestly the worst comedy show currently airing.
As her daughter competes in equestrian acts, most people can afford to do that, right? To head off to horse farms for their daughters to compete in equestrian events.
This melancholy little play seemed as realistic as a youngster pretending to cry after receiving. When caught taking cookies, it was so brutally evident that it was no longer funny. In fact, it was hilarious.
This whole article is trying to paint it as how difficult it is. Blake is striving for normalcy in her life, but the past few weeks have been incredibly challenging.
Instead of feeling anything, the internet essentially tossed tomatoes at those images. I apologize, but everyone is asking, did this woman really stage a photo opportunity to appear depressed?
Oh, she now feels like her entire life has been turned upside down. Yeah, and it's your fault. You could have just moved on with your life and not sued Justin. You could have celebrated the win of that movie and just let it be an awkward moment in your time and later move on and figure out a way to actually help your PR.
It wouldn't even be shocking given all that has transpired with her case against Justin Baldoni. Her PR team's brilliant idea was to cry next to a horse and hope that people would forget that she was suing a man for breathing incorrectly. But instead of rescuing her, it made her appear as though she was the star of the most lavish low-budget sympathy party ever.
You've tripled, quadrupled. What's the one past quadrupled? Quintupled? I don't know. You've done it so much, 9-tupled, 10-tupled yourself into the worst spot you could be.
And the problem is that this isn't only humiliating, it's also destroying whatever remnants of credibility every time she puts on a dejected sweatshirt or fakes a grin with clenched teeth. Blake is gone, and her followers only roll their eyes more intensely.
If Justin were willing, and if the rest of that team were willing, she should be figuring out whatever she can do to just shake hands and move on.
In Hollywood, no one is buying it once they believe you're stressed out, even if she is. Faking your breakdowns. Your finished Blake is getting meme fame instead of pity if.
These people, all of them, just want this to be over. At a certain point when this lawsuit when they get so heavy and you're in so the weeds, there is a point where you do just want to just wave the white flag and both parties agree, we're done. We're going to move on, let each party do what they want to do.
Rather than scaling the hole she had created, Blake picked up a shovel and said, let's go deeper. That horse show spectacle essentially served as a reminder to everyone that she is not some helpless victim, but rather simply another wealthy brand that is making an almost amazing effort to appear relevant.
After the disastrous events, she's trying to pretend like there's nothing wrong. Clearly there is. But I don't see much damages because you're able to live your life the same way. Doesn't seem like you're losing much opportunity.
Even your genuine tears appear to be horrible acting if the world determines you're not who you say you are, Blake Soul. Comeback plans are just extra measures for self-sabotage. Critics aren't even attempting to be courteous about it anymore. They are calling it one of the year's worst PR disasters, and to be honest, they are being nice. Blake's actions since bringing that case have somehow made things worse. Because
you're still promoting your business that you claim failed. Nothing failed, Blake. And anything that did fail was due to your own actions. That is the reality. That is just clearer and clearer as more evidence piles up and time. That's what's happening here. But
she is acting as though she had a whole staff of advisors who, her dismal horse displays are hated by everyone. Uncomfortable interviews, strange planted tales, she seems to be teaching a masterclass on how to ruin your reputation. 1.
The Wayfarer Party's opposition confirms the central thesis of Mr. Ryan's motion to dismiss. The FAC is meritless list of grievances and hurt feelings designed to retaliate against Blake Lively for raising SH and retaliation claims.
Whatever plan she believed she had, it fell more forcefully than Ryan Reynolds' expression as he. So that rather than seeming strong, he too needed to clean up this calamity. Blake appears desperate and irresponsible rather than approachable.
As if you haven't done that yourself in your own past interviews and everything else, but I digress.
People aren't even noticing the actress Blake. They are now witnessing Blake, the havoc machine, who repeatedly steps on rakes while pretending astonished. And the worst thing is that it is just becoming more repulsive. Blake's depressing picture shoots are failing. Her PR team's clumsy attempts at rescue are failing. And even the ardent supporters are becoming weary of acting like this isn't a complete catastrophe. Blake is battling not just Justin in court, but also her own reputation. At this point, it's a knockout, and she's on the ground.
Opposition reveals something much worse than the FAC's failure to state valid claims against Mr. Reynolds. Stunningly, it confirms that only 3 of the Wayfarer parties, Mr. Baldoni, Mr. Heath, Wayfarer, have articulated any legal claim against Mr. Reynolds at all.
Because he wasn't meant to remain in this situation for more than 10 years, Ryan is losing it. He's constructed one of Hollywood's cleanest reputations. Attractive, humorous, and untouchable. But now that golden boy persona is crumbling quickly. It all began when Reynolds opened his tongue to the wrong people at the wrong moment, drawing Blake Lively into a court battle with Justin Baldoni.
He's trying to claim, well, my comment was to Justin, if we're going to hear that, and that doesn't affect everybody else. As if calling Justin an actual predator doesn't affect all of Wayfarer is beyond me, because it does. But as I talked to Christopher Melcher, he agrees it's silly, but there very likely could be a request from the judge to just amend the amendment, the complaint.
Court documents claim that during talks with representatives at WME, one of Hollywood's largest talent agencies, Reynolds referred to Baldoni as a predator. This wasn't just a casual remark.
The likelihood of anything happening is that there is a likelihood the judge will just ask the Wayfarer parties to tighten up or clarify or more specifically mention why all of Wayfarer is affected by Mr. Reynolds.
Within weeks, these became major participants in the sector. WME fired Baldoni after a career that suffered a severe hit after enjoying the $250 million success of It Ends With Us. In response, Reynolds filed a petition to dismiss on February 29, 2025, claiming he shouldn't even be involved in the case.
And they'll be able to probably come up with a reason or justify it and put it into writing as to why, and then we'll still continue on with these lawsuits.
His main argument is that he was only expressing an opinion, but in the context of defamation law. That argument isn't as strong as he appears to think, particularly when reputations and jobs are at stake. Declaring someone to be a predator, particularly in the absence of any court documentation or criminal conviction, is extremely offensive. It's an allegation that sticks, and it adhered so firmly that it caused material harm to Baldon, not rumors. Reynolds' stakes are more than merely whether it's court appearances or legal bills. He's jeopardizing something far more significant, his reputation. Ryan Reynolds, the man behind Deadpool and Free Guy, was ranked by Forbes as one of the most paid actors in the world in 2020.
It is an absolute waste of time in part of the way. And Reynolds aggressively trying to declare like all this is nonsense is just all bluff and smoke.
Reynolds is viewed as more than just an actor. Businesses like flying because he was protected, Gin and Mint Mobile chose not to associate their names with him. Now, it seems like a live brand breakdown to watch him struggle to defend himself. For a person renowned for his cool, sardonic calm, Reynolds' legal actions point to a true panic court. On March 12, 2025, sources informed Deadline that his staff is working hard to prevent him from taking depositions. Harvey Weinstein comes to mind. They imagine danger, abuse, and manipulation while feigning a clean. Using the innocuous term predator in reference to a public figure offends not just the court's intelligence, but also all listeners.
It's right here. Reynolds approached Baldoni's agency, namely Executive W. and expressed his deep disdain for Baldoni, suggesting his agency was working with an actual predator. At a later date demanded that the agency drop. Anyway, it's all there, Ryan.
If agents or other parties are made to testify under oath, they are afraid of what may be revealed, and Reynolds isn't acting. He is behaving as though he is frantic to get away before the awful thing breaks, like a man who is sure of his innocence. When you consider the strange arguments his legal team is making, the terror becomes even more apparent. One of the most awkward incidents occurred when Reynolds' lawyers attempted to claim that there is a significant legal distinction between referring to someone as a predator and a sexual predator. This was based on his March 7, 225 court filed in the New York County Supreme Court. As Rush Hour contributor Dave Neal noted, the concept seems nearly absurd. Podcast on the same day that no one in Hollywood associates the name Predator with a science fiction extraterrestrial from the films.
Really? If I were the judge, I would just be so annoyed with all this repetitive nonsense. Like, pay attention, dude. Be more on top of it. I know it's a lot of stuff.
When you examine the social media engagement metrics that Social Blade observed between March and April, this change is evident. Even casual fans are tuning out Blake Lively, as evidenced by the 36% decrease in average Instagram post engagement between April 15th and April 5th. Instead of praising her strength, they are mocking her endless spin. At this point, public skepticism is so deep that even if Blake stood in front of a microphone tomorrow and tearfully admitted her fault, half the internet would assume it was practiced and she has lost a critical component that sustained her brand over years of plausibility. And in Hollywood, once the public loses faith in you, let us know if you're buying Blake's depressing little horse show act or if you're laughing like the rest of us. It's a long, cruel road to never get it back. Hey, maybe we're just being dramatic.